What's up, guys? My name is John Mesa. I'm a tattoo artist in New York City. I'm the owner and tattoo artist at No Idols Tattoo, and I'm also one of the hosts at the Honest Tattooer podcast.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Aaron Davis. I'm an Afro-Americana artist out of Atlanta, Georgia. When I think of gatekeeping, I think of kind of like the older generation of tattooers that are really kind of like holding, like clenching onto all the information that they can just out of fear that other people learning new will like somehow diminish their business.
Yeah, I feel like gatekeeping, it has two sides of it, you know? Gatekeeping can be just the people that really love tattooing, trying to protect tattooing from people that are trying to kind of use it, you know, or water it down, or like, you know, see it more of just like a business opportunity and not as a craft like it's been for many, many years. Like you said, you know, it can also be a lot of people that are withholding information with the intention of kind of manipulating the industry so less people get in it, and therefore there's less people around to compete with them.
Back in the day, there was just much more competition. There was a natural competition between tattoo artists. Like even if a tattoo artist opened up too close to another shop, that the shop that was there might try to burn down the tattoo shop that's right across the street, you know? So I think that it's just kind of been a natural thing that's been a part of the culture since the beginning. And I'm just kind of glad that people are opening up now to where you can just, I don't know, we have the internet. Like everybody can learn everything. Anybody can know anything now. I do feel like it's kind of that like people don't really hold on to as many secrets as much anymore, but I still feel like there's more pros than cons.
As a tattooer, you know, like I'm swiping through Instagram and I'll get tattoo courses advertised to me, or, you know, there's so many conventions that are solely for the purpose of educating people. You know, none of these things were around when I started tattooing. I wish that they were, you know, honestly, because, you know, it made my progress be slower.
I actually feel like I'm part of like the first generation of tattoo artists that really benefited from the decline in gatekeeping, because I had a great apprenticeship. Like my mentor taught me a lot of good shit, but also like I learned a lot through YouTube. I learned a lot through people just posting on Instagram, just like talking about how they shade different types of needles that they use. Like I learned a lot of information from the internet. So I feel like the gatekeeping that was prevalent like 10 years, 15 years ago, definitely, like you said, it's not really as much as it is now, you know? So I feel like I definitely have grown as an artist. I wouldn't have been as good of an artist as I am now without that kind of decline in gatekeeping. I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but definitely like I'm more involved in the kind of like Black tattoo community, which is pretty different from like the rest of the tattoo community, because honestly, even like 20 years ago, it was hard for a Black person to even get a booth at a tattoo convention. You know, before like Black Ink Crew and stuff like that, it was like so much harder for Black artists to even like get on that level. So I feel like for a lot of Black artists, we tend to share a lot more information with each other, just because in terms of American tattoo culture, our history isn't as long. You know, there are more kind of like white artists who've been tattooing for like hundreds of years in America, you know, and tattooing indigenously has been around for centuries, like for thousands of years and stuff. But for us, I mean, the oldest Black tattoo artist that I can think of is like Jackie Gresham, and she's maybe in like her 60s, you know? So we share a lot more information just because we just kind of have to. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's a really more open environment and open learning, more opportunities to learn, really.
I agree with you 100%, man. I like, you know, I apprentice under, you know, a Hispanic, you know, Latino tattooer, you know, and the only reason why I am a tattooer today is because I was getting tattooed by him. We became friends. He saw that I had some artistic talent and he offered me an apprenticeship, you know? I didn't really go looking for one, you know, like a hard, like, hey, I want to be a tattooer. You know, something that kind of just, I stepped into, you know, because of that. And it was because I formed a friendship first. And because of that, it's because we had so many things in common, you know? So I feel like it's much harder, you know, maybe, you know, cross cultures, you know, and everything like that. So for sure. I mean, I have a podcast and I talk about tattooing all the time. So yes, I've been accused of gatekeeping. Like to a certain degree, yes, you know, I think there's some things that should be gatekept to a certain extent, just because, you know, you don't want to give like advanced information to somebody who's a newbie, you know? And I think that's why there's a huge value in an apprenticeship, because having a mentor, they'll be able to guide you and give you, you know, the steps of like, all right, you're ready to move up and do things that are a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult, you know? It's something as simple as like, you know, I've seen on Instagram, you know, 1-year tattooers trying to pull off like a full sleeve on somebody when they still can't pull off like a palm-sized tattoo that's perfectly clean, you know? So it's like, it's just learning to, you know, walk, you know, before you run, and etc. So I think that's the only reason why there is a place for a little bit of gatekeeping in tattooing, but it should be in that sense, not so much in just withholding information to prevent people from getting better, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny, like whenever I see people like comment that you're like gatekeeping and stuff, I'm like I feel like they just don't know what they're talking about, because like you care about the craft. Like any information that you're quote unquote withholding is literally just because like you don't want people to just put bullshit on people's skin. Absolutely. You know, like at the end of the day, like a tattoo is on you forever, you know? So it's like you have to really, really care about the craft. You have to care about the person's skin. You have to know that you're ready to tackle that tattoo. So like, I don't know, I think people hear like buzzwords that you may say and just be like, oh, he's gatekeeping. And it's like, no, that's not it at all.
The main thing that I see on the internet is beautifully artistic done tattoos. They look beautiful, you know, but they're tattoos that should be done as art on paper and not on skin. And the reason that I'm saying this is because there's so many really good artists getting into tattooing, and just because they're really good at doing art, they think that they're really good at doing tattoos. And they're two very different mediums. And tattooing has certain restrictions that you can't bypass. So what I'm referring to is like tattoos that are done with like zero black, you know, zero structure, that look great on an Instagram photo. But I know, and most tattooers that have been tattooing for a while will see these tattoos and they're like, that's not gonna heal well and it's gonna age terribly, you know? So then it comes to like, okay, well, what is a tattoo? Is it just what happens that day? What is the final point of the tattoo? And to me, is for it to age well, you know? I think a good tattoo is one that looks better when it's healed than when it's fresh, you know, because that's what the person's gonna live with, you know? You get to take the photo with you, put it on your internet, but like on your Instagram or whatever, but they have to live with that tattoo for the rest of their lives. And if in 5 years, 10 years, it's falling apart and you got that tattoo when you're 18, by 28 it looks crappy, I don't think that that's a good product, you know?
And why do you think people don't like to hear that?
Because it really grinds their gears, man. It's just like, the truth hurts, man. And it's just like, I think that there's a difference between being an artist and being a tattoo artist, you know? You can make art, you know, and you can do it on a canvas and you can do it on paper, you know, and there's no variables to that, you know? Every canvas that you buy, if it's the same size, it's gonna be exactly the same. But every human being has different skin texture, a different skin tone, you know, and their lifestyle may be different, you know, like I'm not gonna do the same kind of tattoo on, you know, a guy that's a lifeguard, you know, and is gonna be out in the sun all the time, you know, to a guy that works in an office and wears a suit every day, you know? You have to take these little things into consideration when you do certain kinds of tattoos, you know? Or somebody that has a darker skin tone versus someone that has like a very light skin tone. There's just too many variables, you know, to make it just be a cookie cutter, like this is right, this is wrong. You know, but you're gonna learn that with experience. And I think a lot of people are doing tattoos and they like see them on the internet and like, wow, that looks incredible. And I'm like, absolutely right. It's incredible that they can do that on skin, especially when you see something that's super tiny, super highly detailed with like so many colors, but no black and no structure. And I'm like, those tattoos are gonna fall apart. So then like, you have to learn from the people that have been tattooing before you, because like, they've made these mistakes before, you know? It's not hard to go back and look at old tattoos, see how they age, and be able to be like, all right, I gotta adjust my techniques to make sure that this is a more long-lasting tattoo and that it just reads better overall after it heals, etc. You know?
When people see something on TV, they just think like, oh, these experts told me like, oh, like every tattoo needs like this solid, like every tattoo needs like solid black line work, every tattoo needs this, every tattoo needs that, and it's like, you're not an expert in this field. Like a lot of tattoos do need that type of stuff, but it's like really a case-by-case basis, and you're not an artist, so you don't know these things. Like we are the trained professionals. This is why we get paid to draw on your skin. You know what I mean? We know what we're doing, and we know from experience what we're talking about. So some people, they come into a shop and think like, oh, I've watched Ink Master, I know everything about tattooing. It's like, no, you know, like a smidge, like the tiniest bit about tattooing. But yeah, these shows definitely make people feel like they are kind of in the artist's shoes.
Tattoo conventions have happened since, I feel like since like 60s or 70s, you know? And that's general admission. You could just pay and go and watch people tattoo, man. You know, and many of them, you could just go and buy supplies. Back in the day, you were able to order supplies from a lot of supply companies that weren't, you know, gatekeeping or holding back or needing you to prove a license and stuff like that. So to say that, you know, Ink Master is like the cause of it, I don't think that's true. But I think that overall, like, you know, some of these shows have done a good job about, you know, educating people a little bit more, and I feel like people are getting better tattoos because of it, and they're a little bit more aware of what makes a good tattoo, what makes a bad tattoo.
I think my only kind of gripe with Ink Master, and this is like kind of in previous seasons, they've done a lot better with like more recent seasons, just the whole like black people can't get color thing. Like you have to, like me, for example, I tattoo mainly black people. That's like 98% of my clients. And because of that show, like a lot of black people just felt like, oh, I can never get color ever. It'll all look bad. Like you just have to, there's different rules. You know, you have to be very particular about somebody's skin, and just you have to really be aware of how color theory and things come into play. But that's really like my only gripe with previous seasons of Ink Master. But I think overall the show does really good job of like bringing on amazing artists. Like nobody on Ink Master is really like a shitty artist for real. Like there's not really, they don't really bring on people who are just shit, you know. But I think just the effects that it's had on my clients and me having to educate my black clients and just saying like, hey, no, we could do color on you. Like it's fine. Like we just have to do it a particular way, and just managing people's expectations with that. I never really heard the whole like you have to earn your tattoo by not getting numbing cream before like I really started getting into tattoos. I don't know, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Like to me, it just feels like, I don't know, you're paying for it. Like, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. You earned it by giving me my money.
Yeah. And like, I mean, when I started tattooing, you know, I had artists that would be that way, where like, they're like, somebody would come in, want their hand tattooed, and they're like, no, I'm not tattooing your hand because you don't have like your arm tattooed. And I always thought like, why, man? Like, it's their life, you know? Like, I do understand though, a sense of responsibility to kind of raise awareness to the client. Like when you have an 18-year-old kid that wants his face tattooed, you know, I am gonna give you the rundown, like, hey man, I don't know if you've thought about this, but this is gonna affect your ability to get a job, the way that socially people are gonna perceive you and things like that. So I think that's huge. You know, you wanna make sure that you do give your client like that information, but they're adults, it's their life, and it's their money. But also, I think it's up to each artist to be able to do what they feel is right for them. Just know that if you choose to not do it, somebody else will, you know? Somebody else will, and you just have to be okay with that, and I feel like that's fine too. I think the best thing you can do is just give somebody some advice, but it's up to them if they want to take it or not, you know? If they still choose it, you know, to do it anyways, and it turned out to be a bad decision, that'll be a bad decision that they have to live with and will probably regret, you know? But, you know, if it's my son, that's a totally different story, you know? But, you know, it's adults. We're tattooing adults. We're not tattooing minors, you know what I'm saying? So.
And I think just at the end of the day, if the person feels good about their body afterwards, that's really the thing that matters the most, honestly. Like, it could be a kind of weird idea. Like, some people see the dick tattoos on Instagram and stuff and be like, I would never get that done. But, like, I don't know, dick tattoos are kind of fun, and like I think that they're cool. And like at the end of the day, that person really wanted a dick on them, and like it makes them feel better about themselves, and that's the whole point of tattooing, to feel good about your body.